Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're stepping back, really stepping back into one of the most turbulent, most transformative decades in American history, the 1960s. I mean, just imagine it, a time grappling with intense civil rights struggles, reeling from events like President Kennedy's assassination, the Birmingham Children's March, the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church, just profound unrest, but also, well, immense creativity. And it's right in the middle of this whirlwind that a very distinctive organization emerged, one that really carved out its own path, identifying strongly with African culture and championing social change. Phi Groove Social Fellowship. So our mission today is to take a deep dive into its unique origins, its core principles, its lasting legacy. We want to unpack what made it such a compelling alternative back then and, why its story still matters. We'll touch on some surprising inspirations, hidden meanings in the name itself, and some really influential people who came from its ranks. Okay, let's get into it.
Absolutely. And, amidst that turmoil you just described, it's truly fascinating how specific historical moments can just ignite something completely new. New movements, new institutions. Understanding Phi Groove really means digging into that period of profound social transformation. Different ideas about empowerment, about community were being hammered out. It really highlights that dynamism, where the old ways just weren't quite cutting it for everyone anymore.
So where did it start? What was that initial spark? Well, according to Dr. Michael J. Winfield Sr., in his retrospective, Before You Pledge, the catalyst for Phi Groove, this alternative that students at Morgan State were looking for, seems to stem from an event put on by Omega Psi Phi's Pi chapter. Dr. Winfield argues that on March 28, 1962, the Pi chapter did something pretty bold. They invited Malcolm X, the Nation of Islam minister from Harlem's Mosque Number 7, to debate a faculty member, Dr. August Meier, right there on campus. And research by Jeffries from 2007 backs this up, notes that the Baltimore Evening Sun ran an article the very next day about this heated exchange. And this wasn't some small affair. It lasted almost 3 hours. Drew a crowd of 1,400 people. Can you imagine the energy? Clearly a huge deal.
Absolutely, a massive event. And that exchange, the one you described where Malcolm X was challenging so many norms, it really did set the stage, didn't it? If you connect the dots, that debate between Malcolm X and Dr. Meier was incredibly charged. The record shows Malcolm X didn't hold back criticizing white racists, condemning black leaders pushing for integration. He even called President Kennedy a political hypocrite in the worst order. His message was strong: black nationalism, self-reliance, a radical break. On the other side, you had Dr. Meier advocating for integration, for nonviolent tactics like Dr. King's approach, aiming for dignity and equal rights within the system. So two really different paths presented. It does make you wonder, though, how did such a fiery, Jeffries even describes it as insulting, debate, how did that lead to something new instead of just deepening the existing lines? Well, what's fascinating is that Winfield concludes the impact of Malcolm X's visit was measurable. You could see it in the creation of not just one, but two new organizations, Phi Groove, and also Iota Phi Theta. Both decided to chart a course different from the existing fraternities at Morgan State. It seems like the intellectual ferment, the raw energy from that debate, it must have highlighted a gap for some students. Maybe they felt the existing Black Greek organizations, the Divine Nine, weren't fully capturing that evolving, maybe more radical consciousness of the civil rights movement. Or perhaps not aligning enough with a growing Pan-Africanist identity. It pushed students to forge their own way, seeking something that resonated more with the times.
Right, so that brings us directly to Phi Groove. What does this context mean for them? It means that by October 1962, just a few months after that electrifying debate, Phi Groove Social Fellowship was officially up and running, and they explicitly set themselves up as an alternative to the established Black Greek letter organizations. Information from the Phi Groove organization itself highlights that the founders had a really clear vision. They wanted to encourage academic focus, uphold strong moral principles, and build, unwavering solidarity among male students, both undergrad and grad. But it wasn't just about campus life, was it? Their ambitions were bigger. This initiative, it was specifically designed to cultivate sharp, capable leaders, and to actively investigate and tackle societal economic issues, to really, as they put it, change the world. They were building a force for change.
Exactly, that force for change idea is crucial. And the organization's own literature points out a key differentiator, identifying deeply with African culture. This wasn't just a surface thing, not just symbolic. It was woven right into their name, into the meanings they attached to it. A very conscious choice to root themselves differently.
Okay, this is where it gets really fascinating, the name itself. Let's break it down. Start with Phi. Now, your first thought might be, oh, the Greek letter. But It's way deeper and totally separate from that. Pete Tompkins, in his book Secrets of the Great Pyramids, talks about this. He discusses how the ancient Egyptians, the Kemet people, had a symbol they called Phi, and it represented the creative function of the male reproductive system. Tompkins explains it also signifies reproduction in endless series, like the fire of life. Pretty powerful stuff. So the Phi Groove founders deliberately chose this ancient symbol and its name. It was meant to denote their continuing growth, their development, the perpetuation of their ideals. And it's really important, as the organization itself points out, while it looks like the Greek letter Phi, the meanings are completely distinct. It underlines their unique cultural grounding in ancient African thought.
And then you have groove, which, that word just screams 1960s, doesn't it? Research shows it became super popular among young people then. You think about the music, the slang. Groove was a whole mood, a feeling of connection, being in sync. Like Sullivan, writing in 2017, notes the Young Rascals had that huge hit in '67, Groovin' on a Sunday afternoon. Perfectly captured that feeling of ease and harmony. But the organization looked deeper. Their own historical documents explain that Webster's dictionary gives groove a couple of meanings. As a verb, it can mean performing smoothly, skillfully. But as a noun, it can mean a fixed routine, like the status quo. So as the organization puts it, going against the groove means challenging the establishment, disrupting those fixed, maybe unjust routines. While grooving, that's about socializing, fellowshipping, building that harmonious community. It's really this clever combination of meanings at the heart of Phi Groove social fellowship. It reflects both that revolutionary spirit challenging the norm and that communal bond, being in the groove together. It's quite smart, that duality. And interestingly, the organization notes that some Divine Nine groups later picked up grooving too, using it to mean socializing or fellowshipping. Shows the term's cultural spread.
Yeah, that's really insightful. And beyond the powerful name, their commitment to community service, that's a huge part of who they are, right? You see it in their programs, their projects. It's not just inward-looking brotherhood. It's about making an impact outside. Research clarifies they operate as a 501c DAFA, which primarily designates them as a social and recreational club, but obviously with a strong ethic of public good through its members' actions. And importantly, they state they don't discriminate based on race, color, sex, national origin, or physical impairment. That inclusivity seems core to their identity too.
Definitely. And that commitment to leadership and service, it's not just talk. They produce some really notable members who've made significant marks. You look at public service people like Clarence Tiger Davis, G.K. Butterfield, they served with real distinction in public office. Then in athletics, you've got huge names like Donnie Shell, the legendary NFL safety, and Earl the Pearl Monroe, an absolute icon in the NBA Hall of Fame. These figures really embody those founding ideals. And, the organization's legacy isn't just in its members, it's tangible. They have an international headquarters. It's at 2453 Maryland Avenue in Baltimore. They bought it in 2012, dedicated it in 2013. It serves as the central hub for everything: activities, initiatives, leadership training, outreach. It shows a real long-term commitment.
It's also really interesting that Phi Groove wasn't alone in this. A number of other organizations also popped up as alternatives to the Divine Nine, both around that time and later. It seems like it was part of a bigger trend, maybe. Different groups wanting different things, maybe more culturally specific paths, or just a different flavor of brotherhood. Yeah, for instance, research highlights Meier fraternity, founded in '77 at CW Post College. They specifically prefer African fraternalists over Black Greeks, which is a clear statement. Then there's Phi Delta Psi, described as a social fraternity like Phi Groove, also founded '77 at Western Michigan. Sigma Phi Rho started in '79 at Wagner College, bringing together men from diverse backgrounds. Phi Rho Eta kicked off in '94 at Southern Illinois. Beta Phi Pi in '86 at Western Illinois. It really paints a picture of a whole landscape of groups emerging, each finding their own niche.
Exactly. And the existence of all these organizations, it underscores something broader, doesn't it? This ongoing need, this desire for diverse spaces for brotherhood, for community, for making an impact. It shows that as society changes, the ways people connect and organize change too. People find new avenues when the old ones don't quite fit, which, raises a really interesting question for all of us. What does it mean to carve out your own path when the existing structures don't quite match your vision? And how do those new paths enrich the whole picture?
So we've taken quite the journey today. We traced Phi Groove Social Fellowship right back to that pivotal Malcolm X debate at Morgan State. We unpacked how its name is loaded with meaning ancient African symbolism meeting a 60s call to challenge the groove, how that really set it apart. And we saw how its core principles, academic focus, morality, solidarity, and its commitment to service allowed it to forge this distinct alternative path. challenging norms, inspiring a new way for those seeking a unique identity.
Absolutely. In the end, the story of Phi Groove is, well, it's a powerful testament. A testament to the power of unity, the impact of daring to challenge norms, especially during times of great upheaval. It's a reminder that even from friction, from debates, new pathways can emerge. Pathways for social change, academic excellence, collective responsibility, creating legacies that still resonate. It makes you think, what stands out to you about the idea of carving out an alternative vision for community, particularly when the well-trodden paths don't feel quite right?